Good evening all. Welcome to the Healthy Living and Social Care Scrutiny Committee meeting of the 5th of November 2024. On behalf of the Chair, I'm just going to read some housekeeping. May I remind everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and that this recording is archived for future viewing. If a participant wishes to speak, can they please raise their hand using the raise hand function, which is on the bottom centre of your screen. When invited to address by the Chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on for the sake of the recording and to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. And that concludes the housekeeping. Over to yourself, Chair.
Thank you, Amy. Very nicely read. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance this evening. Even though it's bonfire night, I'm sure you'll see a few fireworks on the way home. So can we start with part 1, which is agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I have 1, Russell Godfrey. Amy?
Yes, Chair, apologies also received from Councillor Buckley and Councillor Kaup.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2 are the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of October 2024. Would you like? Can't hear you, Sue.
Sorry, Chair, my hand was up to give apologies from Councillor Carys-Stallard as well, please.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Does anybody have any points they'd like to raise on the agenda, or would you like me to go through it page by page? I see nobody's hand up, so I'll take that as everybody is approving the minutes of the 8th of October.
Yeah, I was going to move the minutes, Chair.
Thank you, Neil. I will second Neil. Agenda item 3, to receive declarations of interest and the nature of such interests, including whipping declarations under the Council's Code of Conduct. Do we have any? I see no hands up.
Councillor Stolby.
Yeah, I can't see it on here, I'm afraid. So you're going to have to help me out, Neil, if anybody puts their hand up. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to declare an interest in relation to agenda item 7, the telecare report. I have dispensation to speak but not vote on matters related to telecare. My interest is personal, not prejudicial, so I will stay in the meeting for the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Anybody else? No. Okay, thank you. Which takes us on to agenda item 4. I believe we have some slides tonight with agenda item 4. This is a report that looks at the key aspects, and this is for 25 to 30. Lance, are you taking this?
Yes, I assume so.
Thank you, Lance.
I can't see other corporate colleagues here tonight, so I think it's probably for me. I'm hoping, Amy, will you drive the presentation or do I need to?
Yeah, which slides are you sharing, Lance? Is it the ones in South?
Helen sent them to me, corporate plan presentation.
I'm afraid she hasn't shared those with me. Would you mind sharing them or forwarding them to me?
Yeah, what's the best way I can do that? Just send them to you, or can I share them via?
You can share them. Yeah, you can share them directly from your device. But if you're not comfortable with that, you can email them to me now, and I can share them for you.
I will try and share my screen.
Okay. Yep. So it's showing us that it's waiting for source. So
okay,
the source window should appear.
Okay, I'm just making sure I choose the right one. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, it's showing us the PowerPoint, not in slideshow though. Are you able to stop sharing and then go to the open version, the slideshow version?
Yeah, I just tried that. Okay. All right, I'll try again. Hang on a second.
So if you stop sharing in the top right hand corner, and then open up the PowerPoint and put it into full screen share, and then try share screen.
Okay, thank you. I'm getting a good IT lesson here.
Thank you. And if I could ask my lovely, showing perfect for us now, Lance. And if I could ask my colleague Matthew to take the agenda ribbon off. Thank you very much.
Okay. I got about nearly 20 slides, so I'm going to go through them quite quickly. So it's really to introduce the report that has come via Cabinet regarding the new corporate plan, which achieves a number of things for the council. But I suppose primarily, I'm not going to read everything that's on every slide, but primarily it sets out 5 new wellbeing objectives. I'll talk through a bit as we go through about the consultation process and how some of these things have emerged that have brought us to this. Clearly, you'll all be aware that we will be audited, scrutinised and judged against the commitments in this plan going forward. So in terms of the structure, you'll be familiar. It's probably not very different from how it has been put across in the past. Certainly, we wanted to talk about how it's a plan for the future, how we've listened. You'll be aware of the Let's Talk survey, a number of areas of work that have emerged over a period of time that have informed the development of the plan. And I suppose primarily those 5 wellbeing objectives and potentially around 50 actions. There are a number of areas that are included within it. And I suppose just to highlight those 5 objectives, and I suppose to try and talk particularly in terms of this scrutiny committee and where those things land. So the first one, creating great places to live, work and visit. Clearly the leisure elements that this scrutiny committee covers very strongly fit within that part of it. In terms of respecting and celebrating the environment, that's something for us all. But another strong area for us as a committee is giving everyone a good start in life, particularly given our focus on children and young people. And then similarly, supporting and protecting those who need us, the 4th one, that very much reflects a lot of the work that we do in social services. The last one's fairly internally focused, but really, we recognise that, every organisation is on an improvement journey, and we want to make sure that we're working as best as we can as a council, whether that's social services and leisure, or whether that's the wider parts of the council as well. You also see a set of commitments there in terms of those working with us. I think it's really good that the council is clearly setting out its values in terms of how it wants to be perceived and how we intend to work with people. I'm going to whiz through some of these because they're examples, and I'm going to go to the social care one. So there's some environment and regen examples, another set of environment and regen ones, corporate performance and resources, learning and culture, and I'll just stop quickly on the healthy living and social care. So these example actions at the moment, but these are the kind of things that we will see within the plan. And I suppose, they're building on a lot of the work that this committee has been overseeing for some time in terms of safeguarding, integration with health services, making sure that we're supporting as many people as we can at home, and supporting children looked after in the best possible way. So those kind of things would still be within it. And then I suppose there are other themes in terms of poverty actions. They have a really strong link to the work that we do in social services. And then I suppose moving on, it's important that we look at how we monitor our performance in terms of delivering against those things, and the link with other processes that happen within the council, such as the budget, the self-assessment process, and so on. So we're expecting to bring more themed reports in future, similar to the cost of living and Project Zero progress reports. The plan has a timetable, so we're still fairly early on in that, and we're in the consultation phase, which is why Cabinet sent it to committee. And I suppose what this next slide does really is show some of the consultation that is planned or has already started and taken place within the 8-week consultation period. And that's it. So I'll just go to ask any questions. I'm also going to stop sharing if that's okay.
You're on mute, Chair.
Does anybody have any questions or anything they would like to add to the report?
Councillor Collins, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Collins?
Hi. Sorry, first of all, I'd like to give my apologies for being late. I don't finish work till 5, so it took a little time to get off that and log on to here. I've got some comments that were passed to me by Councillor Cowp, who is unable to make it today. She's a little concerned about the whole delivery plan in general on the corporate plan. Examples are including the increase of supply of good, accessible and affordable housing. She'd like to know how this is going to be done. She doesn't seem to think there's any real clear, although the ambitions are great, it doesn't really say how it's going to be achieved. It's not really clear enough. And also the same with number 5 on page 30, enhancing services that support children to stay with their families. Again, great, but how? Which services?
If I may,
Yeah,
Chair.
I know what you're going to say. Go on.
I believe the first point may be better raised by Councillor Cowp at the housing and homes and safe communities, which may be why she's forwarded to you, Councillor Collins, as the chair for that committee.
No, she forwarded it to me because I'm on this committee with her and she's not here and she wanted her voices heard. She's not going to be here tomorrow either. So,
but
okay, so
this is not a question for this committee. The housing question is for another committee. We can't deal with that here.
But the secondary question that you have with regards to the secondary point with about I believe it was children in care, was it? Sorry, page 5 you referred to.
Yes.
We obviously can deal with that. Would you mind just repeating that for the sake of the officers online?
Basically, she's concerned over number 5, which is enhanced services that support children to stay with their families. It's great, but how is this going to be done? What services are you talking about?
Lance, is this adoption and fostering, or?
I think it's a broad action at the moment, and I think the point that Councillor Collins probably making in reference to this and the housing one, really, or on behalf of Councillor Cowper, wanting to see a bit more specific action and understand how it's really going to be delivered. And I think I can understand her wanting to see that detail. I think the purpose of the plan coming to this committee now is part of that consultation and engagement, and this committee is expected to, I suppose, feed back that concern or that consultation back to Tom Bowering. So I think that's probably the next stage that we should agree that that I suppose need for greater detail and clarity around how some of those actions and aspirations will be delivered. I think is probably is that a reasonable summary, Councillor Collins, of what
I believe so, and it's also a repeated theme in the email that she has sent me. There's just not enough detail overall in the whole thing, not just elements in the whole of the corporate plan. So that needs to be expanded on.
And I think we have a service planning process as well, which often captures a lot of that actual detail. But I think that's certainly something that we're asking committee members to feedback, and so that feedback should go back to Tom for his consideration.
Thank you.
Amy, will we record that and move it on to Tom Bowring?
Absolutely, Chair. I can summarise that as a recommendation at the end of your discussion, if you like.
Yeah. Yes, please. Are there anybody else that
You've got two
Neil?
hands up, Chair. You've got Councillor Lloyd Selby and then Councillor Cave.
Thank you. Councillor Selby?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for taking us through the presentation, Lance. I really welcome this revised approach to developing the corporate plan. I think it simplifies the planning process, and really good to see about the level of engagement which is happening around this. And I hope that residents will take up the opportunity to engage. My question relates to that engagement, and it would be helpful to know whether or not there's any specific work being done to ensure the voices of young people who have lived experience of the care system are heard, and also families in receipt of support from social care services. Is there anything specific being done as part of the consultation to give them an opportunity to engage? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Lance?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. I know that we obviously do that engagement for different elements of our social services plans, so which will feed into this as well. But I don't know specifically, and I've taken the slides down now off my page. I know I skipped over the engagement slide, and I don't know whether there was anything specific there in terms of younger people. I know there were specifics in terms of the 50+ forum, which I know is the opposite end of the age demographics that you're talking about. But again, I would think that was something that we should follow up with Tom in terms of a recommendation from this committee.
If I may, Chair, there is reference within the corporate plan to engagement with young people through youth services. So it may be that young people who are care experienced have that opportunity through that route. But if you could provide any other information, or if information could be provided outside of this scrutiny committee, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Selby. Councillor Christine Cave?
Thank you, Chair. I was fortunate enough to see this corporate plan at the Community Liaison Committee when it was brought very late in the evening, about 9 o'clock at night, to all the town and community councillors. And I won't go over the comments I made at the time, because obviously we are part of that consultation. But at the time I did point out the things that are being pointed out here this evening. It's a very broad plan. It's very wordy. But it says very little in a way in terms of the how this is going to happen. And so I think we're falling at the first hurdle of engagement, which is always to make something relevant to the person that's actually being engaged with. And I think it's far too wordy. There's no executive summary. There's no plan about how this is really going to be financed, or how it's going to be enacted, or what it really relates to. So I think engagement for this particular document and this very important strategy is going to be very difficult. And on a final note, I would say I just want to fly the flag for everybody living in the rural Vale, because there is very little engagement happening there. So once again, our voice has very much been silenced, I'm afraid.
Lance, would you like to comment on that, or should we just put it into a recommendation, Amy, at the end? Lance?
I don't think I can respond. It wasn't a question.
No.
I mean, other than, I suppose, to say that, the development of the corporate plan is an iterative process. The consultation feedback that we get will be used to make amendments. And I suppose from my perspective, my concern in terms of how, when it's been under development, is how we make sure that the wellbeing objectives are framed in a way that actually fits with the services that we provide. I want to be able to see social services within them, and I'm sure Dave will want to see leisure within them, and I think that has been achieved. So I think that's a real positive.
Thank you, Lance. I mean, I think the recommendations are applaudable if carried out. Councillor Cave, would you like to make a recommendation and pass that forward?
Yes, certainly, Chair. I'd like to recommend that in future, when we undertake consultations, we firstly think about consulting with those people, everybody in the Vale, including the people in the rural Vale, and that we think about consultation being something where we engage people in a document that is engaging and that is not as wordy and broad as this document and has real relevance to those people that we're engaging with. And at the moment, I don't really see this in this document.
Thank you, Councillor Cave. Anybody else, Neil?
Yeah, please, if I may as well. Thank you, Chair. In terms of engagement, I've been looking to attend one of the engagement sessions that's taken place already, and I did at that talk to the people running it about the youth voice and so forth, and getting young people involved. And I have in fact raised it with locally with Penarth Youth Action, who were very interested and told me that they would look at it and put in their comments and encourage their cohort to do so as well. I mean, this is a this is a corporate plan, so but by its very nature, it's an overarching large plan with the ambitions for both the residents and the councillors and the council itself, the executive, and a way forward for the Vale of Glamorgan for the future. It's not. It will be by its very nature. It will be short on detail, because detail is what comes out of the corporate plan rather than what goes into it. And so the detail should be coming out from the various directorates and from the various scrutiny committees when they consider their sections of it once the corporate plan is agreed. The consultation, I mean, there are gaps. It's difficult, and we can't go around knocking on every single door very easily. We have to engage in groups. But I take Councillor Kay's point that maybe the more rural areas, by their very sort of scattered nature, makes it more difficult for engagement. But engagement can take place both in person and online. There are various consultation forms within the council's web pages and so on to allow people to make their comments heard. In terms of what is within the overarching plan, we are coming out of a very, very difficult period of austerity where we've seen our budgets cut to the bone over the last number of years, and hopefully this is addressing both that and maintaining our statutory duties, of which this particular committee is one of the big spenders on statutory stuff. I think we account for something like 32%, 33% of the entire budget, just within ourselves, and then education takes an even bigger chunk. So the stuff within the corporate plan has to address those, but it also needs to look at the stuff which isn't statutory, stuff like our leisure provision and so on, which we can then provide in the future. And it's our ambition to keep that going. Things like what we saw in Penarth Leisure Centre when we did our tour recently with the with the healthy the reference from what do they call it, the people coming from the doctors for exercise and help, and we'll see later on in the play presentation when we get it. So I mean I commend this as a corporate plan, although I do take the point about the need for greater consultation. But I also take Councillor Lloyd Selby's point that the voice of the care experienced child needs to be heard within the consultation. Thank you. Councillor John has his hand up.
Gwyn?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I do know that tomorrow afternoon there's a discussion on the corporate plan at CF61 in Lantwick Major. That's an invitation. Also, I know it's been to Lantwick Town Council, and I believe it's going to all town and community councils as well. So I haven't got the details in front of me, but I'm sure that we can arrange with Councillor Cave to have the necessary information. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwyn. Is there anybody else who'd like to comment on the report? No. Well, we have 6 recommendations plus 2 new recommendations to go forward. As I said, I think the recommendations are applaudable if carried out. And the recommendations starting with 1 is that Cabinet notes the approach taken.
Sorry, Chair. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but those recommendations are the original Cabinet recommendations from the report. So as the report is referred to you, your recommendations this evening are that the reference and appended Cabinet report be noted, and then a secondary new recommendation this evening that comments be shared with the Director of Corporate Resources, Tom Bowring, and those comments will be the by proxy comment from Councillor Kaup, kindly provided by Councillor Collins, the comments from Councillor Lloyd Selby, as well as the comments in terms of taking care to address the relevance of information provided from Councillor Cave. So obviously I can work out the specific wording for that and provide that to you for approval after the meeting. Is that
Thank
okay?
you. Yeah, well, is everybody in agreement with noting and forwarding the 3 statements from the 3 other councillors?
If I could have a seconder, Chair.
Second.
Oh, Neil second. Okay, thank you. Right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to agenda item 5. The agenda item is Social Care Record System. Went to Cabinet on the 10th of October 2024. This report I felt was to inform on the progress of the new social care record system. This report is required by the 26th of January 2025, so the Cabinet are up against it really. Lance, are you going to do this one?
Yes, this is me again. I may rely on Ian for some to answer any queries. This report it actually follows the calling to this committee, which was based on our previous report, and I suppose this really represents some progress, which is really positive. We've gone through a procurement process. Unfortunately, in terms of the part 2 of that process, so the winning supplier, I'm not at a stage where we're able to share the detail of that today. Unfortunately, we still need to communicate that, and I need to communicate that with staff. We've communicated it with the supplier, so we're very nearly there. I'm expecting that to be in the next few days. So I think that is really positive. What you'll see within the report, unfortunately, is still no clarity in terms of funding for the system and its ongoing costs. The SRO advisory groups, which is a group which is formed with ADSS Cymru and WLGA has got to the position of preparing a business case, which we are expecting to finalise this Friday and will submit to Welsh Government. The issues regarding the previous business cases prepared by DHCW are in the report, I believe. So I think that's probably it. But I am really pleased to be in a position where we have a successful supplier and one that we're confident has a good quality product that we will be able to implement.
Thank you, Lance. Does anybody have any questions?
Councillor Lloyd Selby's got a hand up, Chair.
Sue?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lance. One clarification, if I may, and one question. The report in 1.1 actually says that the system will cease to function in January 2026. But I think both yourself and the Chair made reference to that date being January 2025, which was my understanding. So if we could just clarify the timescales. And then my question in terms of finances, I understand that the business case is being developed and that will be put to Welsh Government for a decision as to whether or not they're going to be providing any funding. Presumably the cost of the provision of the new service is known. What's unknown is how much it's going to cost the Vale Council, because we don't know if Welsh Government are going to be able to offer any support for that. So at what point will the cost of the new system as it currently stands be known?
Oh, so whether Ian wants to respond.
I can see Ian is coming.
I think the first date it is January 26. That's when it's been considered end of life in terms of products. We may have been talking about an earlier date at one point because of our contractual arrangements with them. We were able to extend that for a year. That's the only thing I can think of in terms of that potential confusion. In terms of the cost, we know how much the system is going to cost to buy. We know how much it's going to cost per user now that we've completed the procurement process. We don't know how much it's going to cost to exit in terms of migrating the data and so on. So there's still quite a few unknown overall costs. But I don't know, Ian, whether you wanted to add anything to that.
No, I'm going to say exactly the same. I mean, we know how much the license cost will be. We know how many people will need to use the system, but there is still clarity required in terms of how much it will cost to migrate that data and how much it will cost to employ some of the people in very specialist IT type roles to support us in terms of the development of that. So we've set out the approximate cost for that within the business case to Welsh Government. And the sooner we have clarity in relation to being able to fund those posts, that'll be great. But in the interim period, we're going to have to move forward with trying to employ people in those posts in the interim period as a council.
Is that okay, Sue? Are you happy with that? No.
If I may, so presumably in terms of those interim costs, while we await the completion of the business case and a decision from Welsh Government, that I assume those will be signed off by Cabinet?
Yeah, I think the costs have been agreed that we would use reserves to meet those costs. Obviously, while we are hopeful still that it will be funded by Welsh Government, we still have no idea the extent to which it will be funded and which costs that they will agree to pick up. So yes, we are very much at risk.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but thank you. That's a helpful clarification.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Lance. Right, Amy, am I right in thinking that this report is just for noting?
That is correct, Chair. Yes, noting the reference and the appended Cabinet report.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'd like to move that. Neil, do you want to second?
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. Yeah, I'll second that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that moves us on to agenda item 6, which is the annual reports for sports development, play development, 60 plus active, leisure scheme and national exercise referral scheme. This is all very good news. And also, I'd just like to say it's not in here, I don't think. I couldn't see it. But being a member of Lantford Major Leisure Centre, and I do know that it happens in Barry as well, that we are informed continually about the progress of developments and what's happening and is it complete. And I was delighted to get an invitation for the over 50s for a free activity this Saturday by email. So thank you for that. I forward it to everybody. I hope it will be a busy time for you. So I hope everybody's managed to look at the clip that has been sent. And I didn't get the opportunity to speak at the last meeting because I had computer problems. But I'd just like to say to you, Dave, how absolutely delighted I am with how everything is going and completion of things. I think you're doing a marvellous job. So on that, I am moving it over to you now, Dave. I'm going to be quiet.
I really appreciate all those positive comments, and obviously I'm very aware we provided an awful lot of information and wrapped it up into one report this evening from various teams. What we wanted to be doing this evening was very much showing you the video, and I hope members have had an opportunity to view the video in advance of me speaking. The idea being that I could actually do a little bit less speaking tonight. We wanted you really to see it from our sort of client and customer perspective in terms of the various services that are being operated. And you'll also find there's a concentration in the reports that are attached to the main report with anecdotes and comments from users, which obviously is where we base a lot of our service. And it was interesting, the conversation earlier in terms of the corporate plan and the consultation that takes place. And hopefully within our report, you're seeing a demonstration of where that does actually occur. And you will note there are some negative comments included within them, or opportunities for actually to improve our service. But I think you'd also agree that probably about 99% of the comments that we do get tend to be positive. A large amount of the work that we do is also in partnership, and we'd like the opportunity to sort of recognise our partners in terms of the work that we undertake. And obviously we wouldn't be successful in spreading the resources that we have if we weren't able to work with a number of external partners. And it wouldn't be fair to name a few of them because they all play a very, very important part. You've got a 60 plus initiative report for the first time this year. And again, I would ask you to look at that. And I know there's been some comments in the past that we've tended to concentrate on young people, but hopefully you're seeing that spread of service. And for those that have had an opportunity to see the video, you will note that the first comments are from national exercise referral clients that have gone through the system and obviously seen the benefits in that. I'm pleased to say that Karen Davis, who's probably responsible for more of this than I am, is with me tonight. And obviously we're more than happy to take any questions that you may have.
You're on mute, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Dave, for the report. An excellent report. Does anybody have any questions for Dave?
Councillor Cave has a hand up, Chair.
Thank you, Neil. Councillor Cave?
Thank you, Chair. Can I say how fortunate I think we are in having Dave as one of our officers? I think this report is the way to go. I really do. I think it's a fabulous report. I think his idea of giving personal case studies from, people that we can hear from, albeit, as he said, not everybody gives a 100% glowing report, but there, there's no such thing as error, is there? There's only feedback. And from that feedback, that's the thing that helps us achieve excellence. And, Dave is not an officer that is afraid of feedback. And I think, we're very, very, I genuinely mean this. We're very, very lucky to have him as an officer.
Yes.
And we should be very proud that he's come to this committee with this report.
Mm.
We're very quick sometimes to complain about things when things go wrong, as in the corporate plan maybe. But this is a wonderful report, and I'm thrilled to be able to say that at this committee. And go, Dave,
Thank you, Christine.
I have to stress, Chair, and I'm very, very grateful for those comments, but this is very much a team effort. I may be the face, but there's lots of people in my team that go above and beyond and do a lot of hard work. And Karen is certainly one of those who's with us this evening.
Yeah, I think they do it for you as well, Dave. And I concur with everything that Councillor Christine Kay said. Anybody else?
Yes, please, Chair.
Neil?
Yeah, Councillor John has his hand up as well after me. First of all, I'd like to echo both your and Councillor Cave's comments about Dave Nevitt and his team and the quality of this report. Given that, I'd also like to add a third recommendation, to the recommendations we have before us, and that's to refer both this report and the video that was circulated earlier to Cabinet for their information and to highlight the exemplary work of the sports and play teams, if I may. Thank you.
Councillor Gwynne?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to thank members for their support and their comments. Absolutely delighted to receive those on behalf of the group. Dave and his team do a tremendous job, as you've found out on the visit to our leisure centres. And I think it was particularly noticeable when we last went to Penarth, the number of older people in the gymnasium there and the referral areas as well. It was absolutely great, and I'm absolutely delighted to work with such a good team. And my thanks to Karen and her team. They work so hard and in all ways of sports development, children's play. It's enormous. It really is tremendous. And I'm delighted. I've always said it, I've been with Dave a long time at different years as Cabinet Member for Leisure. But Dave, undoubtedly, I've met with other counties as well in Wales, and they flock to Dave for advice. Dave is, I would say, the top leisure officer in Wales. And quite honestly, we're lucky to have him. So thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you all members for supporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gwynne. Anybody else? No, I'll move on to the recommendations then. We now have 3 recommendations. The first one is that committee notes the information contained within the reports. Can somebody move that and second that?
I'll move I'll move if someone's a second.
Thank you. I'll second then. And recommendation 2, that a further annual report on the activities of the Council's sports and play development, exercise referral and the 60+ active leisure scheme teams be submitted to the Scrutiny Committee in 2025.
Again, I'll move.
Thank you. I'll second that. And then on to your recommendation, Neil, was that we correct my wording if I get it wrong, Amy. So the recommendation is that we refer this onto Cabinet and the slides. Is that it, Neil? Is that right?
And the video that was circulated earlier, yeah.
Yeah, and the video, yeah.
And obviously I moved that.
Yeah, and I'll second that. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Neil, Dave. Right, that takes us nicely on to agenda item 7, which is the telecare services update. It's a positive report. And can I bring in Jason first, please?
Thank you, Chair. Before I bring Andy Cole in to go through the report in detail, just wanted to pay tribute to a member of staff that passed away recently, Mr. Gary Pike. who is really instrumental in driving forward some of the progress and changes that you'll hear in the report and over the last few years. Gary lived in Lantwit and sadly passed away a couple of weeks ago. So our thoughts to his family and our thanks. And he's left a real legacy with our telecare service, and a real inspirational character as well. So heartfelt thanks to him for his work and condolences to his family. But I just wanted to reference that, Chair, with your permission, before we get into report in full detail.
Yeah, absolutely. He has done an absolutely marvellous job in setting all this up. It is, as you say, all down to him. And I'd like to send on behalf of this committee our thanks and commiserations to his family as well. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Chair.
Can I bring you in now, Andrew?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I couldn't agree more with the words that Jason said about Gary. He really took the team under his wing over the last few years. He wasn't with us long, but he made every moment count. And I think you'll agree that the team is in a much stronger position now, able to grab some of the opportunities in technology enabled care that perhaps were out of our reach a few years ago. So Gary's legacy will long live with us and certainly with telecare.
Thank you.
Can I also, Chair, introduce? I'm not going to ask Rachel to pop up or speak, but I just want to introduce Rachel Prothero, who has just recently taken on the new telecare manager role. And I know that she's going to benefit from the foundation that Gary and the team have left, and I'm quite sure that Rachel is determined to make Vale Telecare Service the best in Wales, if not further. So yeah, I'll just very briefly run through the reports if that's okay with you. So the new packages, we changed the way that we offer telecare a year or so ago, and the new packages are now embedded. But you will find from the reports that the essential package has been far the most popular, with more than 1,600 customers, whereas the bronze and silver and the gold packages have had far less. So it's something for us to consider how we can kind of learn from that kind of purchasing of the packages. Also of note is the large turnover of our customers. So within the last 12 months, we gained nearly 550 new customers, but we lost just over 400. So again, that's something for us to learn from. So we're very keen to do a survey of the leavers. Obviously, some people might not be able to engage in that survey, but it's certainly something that we're keen to understand. It is clear that's, as I said earlier on, that the bronze and the silver care packages in particular have not been very popular, and we're keen, in recognition really of the cost of living crisis. We're keen to propose that we create a new essential package at a lower cost, but without the false response service. We think this is going to be attractive to people who perhaps have family, friends, neighbours who are able to respond and don't need the response of the St John's service, as good as we think it is, to offer a lower cost option for people. So we're proposing that we introduce that lower cost package as an essential. So the current essential customers will just be renamed bronze. It's not going to affect them in any way at all. They'll just have a different name to their package. We'll then squidge together the bronze and the silver into one, because we're finding that they're not popular, and the gold will remain the same. So it's not a significant change, but the introduction of the new essential package will be an additional choice for people. So we'll see how that goes over the next year or so. It's been a busy year. We've seen the long-standing team manager retire this year. She's not been at work, or hadn't been at work for a while before she retired. So the team was without a manager, which Gary kind of filled that gap more and more so during his time with the team. But as I said earlier on, we're really pleased to have Rachel who started with us on the 1st of November. So she's only been with us 3 days and is already coming up with ideas and suggestions to how the team can be improved. We're also wanting to review the team leader role, to really focus on the day-to-day management of the service, so that Rachel can focus on the strategic growth of the service. As I said, it's been busy. We've moved team, we've moved office base, we've transferred over 1,500 customers from the old analog devices to digital devices in people's homes. We're closing down all the hardwired schemes across the Vale to digital devices. Got a new stock control system, so we're much more confident now that we know exactly where all our units are, whether they're out in people's homes or in storage. And in the last few weeks, we have updated the Vale Telecare website, so it is much more modern looking, much more improved. So hopefully that will attract new customers. We need yet to do some real promotion of that to bring in some customers, and alongside the website, we have introduced a new online application form. You wouldn't believe how long that's taken us to get on board, but it's there, and we're already receiving referrals through our online application form. So that's great. It seems like such a small thing, but trust me, it's been hard won. So we're really pleased about that. And then hopefully over the next few days, we're promised we'll have the direct debit, keep calling it direct payment, the direct debit process in place, so people can purchase it online as well. So that will be a real improvement for the service. The falls response service is still running, and it's a fantastic addition to the telecare. So in the last 12 months, or the 12 months to August, the team responded to over 1,200 falls, people's homes, and out of that, only 11%, only 140 of those falls required a hospital admission, and we think that's a fantastic result for people. Just to say, just to make the comment really, that we're able, our falls response service is able to get out to people under half an hour, so within 27 minutes on average, whereas the ambulance service for category 4, for non-urgent calls, we're looking at significantly more times than longer times than that. The Nuffield Trust have suggested that in May, at least, this is the most recent figures I can find, in May 2024, for ambulance services, the average time is 5.5 hours. So it's a significant improvement for non-urgent emergency falls. And we're very confident that provides a really positive, really positive welcome benefits to our customers, both in terms of preventing harm from long lies, diverts people from hospital, and has a significant saving to the NHS. So we're really pleased with that service, and we're very happy to continue with that. One thing I want to draw your attention to, Chair, is our proposal around our gold packages. What we find is that the majority of people who have our gold packages, that what used to be called TeleV Plus packages, have them as part of their care and support plan, and are charged for it within their assessed charge for care at home. And as you know, the Welsh Government put a cap on that charge of £100 at the moment. So we're proposing that we introduce a flat rate for telecare across the board for all telecare customers. So those currently and perhaps new customers who will require tele or choose to have telecare alongside the care and support plan, the charging of that will be considered separately from their assessed charge. So what that does mean for some people, they will have an increase to their cost for their care and their telecare up to a maximum then of £108, £108.32. So that's for those people who can afford it. And remember, everyone will be means tested for their care and support. So some people wouldn't, of course, be paying that. So that's a big change for us. But we think that will equate to around about £55,000 in income to the telecare service.
Thank you, Andrew. As I said, I thought it was a very positive report. Does anybody have any questions? No.
Councillor Lloyd Selby has her hand up, and Councillor Buckley has joined us. I thought he gave us apologies. He has his hand up as well.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd Selby.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for taking us through that, Andrew. You've actually addressed a number of the questions that I had following the report, so that's really helpful. I declared an interest at the beginning of the meeting because I've got a number of elderly relatives who benefit from telecare package, and I just wanted to add my voice to the tributes that have been made to Gary Pike, particularly in relation to this incredibly innovative partnership that's been put together with St John's Ambulance. And I've seen for myself firsthand that has made an incredible difference. You know, when elderly people fall, they're not having to wait a long time for ambulances. It really has been life-changing. So, you know, my absolutely my tribute to work Gary and indeed the rest of the team have done to deliver that. If I may just clarify one thing, and then there's a question as well, if that's okay, Chair. Just your last point about the way that charging for telecare is going to be changed. So if somebody is currently in receipt of a social care package and they've gone through a financial assessment and that's determined that they pay the maximum of £100, at the moment, if they receive telecare, that's within the £100 charge. So is the proposal now that those customers will have to pay the additional cost on top of their £100?
That's right. So they'll have to pay the additional £8 for the gold, or the £8.32 for the gold package. Now that additional expenditure will then be taken into account as part of their means test for their social care. So it might bring about for those kind of on the cusp of the means test, it might bring about a reduction in their £100. For those who perhaps are not on the cusp, will be required to pay the £100 and the £8.32.
Okay, I mean that does raise a concern for me about, because it's £8.32 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually quite a lot on a monthly basis for any older person who's struggling financially. And I don't think, I mean, I would be concerned if that resulted in somebody who really could benefit from telecare
Absolutely.
giving it up, but it's simply because of hardship. So how is that going to be managed, Andrew, in terms of that reassessment? I mean, obviously the reassessment process itself can be challenging for some older folk. So how is that going to be handled if we have concerns through that process that somebody has been using telecare, benefited from telecare, but feels they can't afford it? Will there be any support in terms of hardship arrangements or recognition for them?
Yeah, so I'm quite keen not to just on the 1st of April that say that we change everybody. I'd much rather we do it on a case by case basis. Everybody who's receiving care and support will have an annual review. So I think that's the time for that discussion, and that's the time for the revision of the charging for telecare. So I don't think it would be an overnight change for people. It would be a change as their reviews happen. So the conversation would happen then. I think for those who will be affected, then the additional expenditure of the £8.32 will be taken into account as part of their assessed charge. So their contribution towards their care will be considered affordable. So it would be something that we would bear in mind. And of course there'd be an appeal process for anybody who is finding that really difficult. Now, if we get to a position where somebody feels that they're not able to afford that, and we think, or the social worker rather thinks, it's going to have a detrimental impact on that person's well-being, then that will be considered as part of the review process.
Thank you. That's really, really reassuring, Andrew, because obviously we don't want to be made. I recognise the financial pressures. I welcome the proposal to simplify the system, but it's important that people who really need this service don't lose out because of that. So thank you. That's a really helpful clarification. And Chair, if you'll indulge me with one final question, if I may. Sorry, one comment, one question. Could we, as part of the next telecare report, could that report include information about the impact of the current changes? So, whether or not simplifying the system and structuring it in a different way has enabled more people to benefit from telecare, and whether, as you've already reported, people are giving up the telecare package. And I'd be particularly interested to know whether any of that is linked to hardship.
Yeah,
and then
we can make the recommendations, Sue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And then my final question is: the report references the 5 Vale sheltered housing schemes for which there's currently no solution in place in relation to the impending telecare digital switchover. And obviously the report makes clear that conversation is very live at the moment. And again, just looking for reassurance in terms of the timescales for the change. Are we confident that arrangements will be in place in time to ensure that residents who currently benefit from that additional support will not lose out?
Yes.
Thank
you. Yeah. So the sticking points with our sheltered schemes aren't the residents or aren't the devices, the telecare devices in the residents' own flats. It's all of the communal devices that we've got scattered around. So that's the area that we haven't yet got a solution to. We could very quickly install our digital devices into our sheltered schemes really quite quickly, but we couldn't install them within the communal areas at this point. So it's something that we are looking for a solution to, that is both affordable to housing, because we wouldn't want an increase in people's rents, of course, unnecessarily, but is also something that would meet people's needs as they move around the sheltered complex. So yeah, we're funnily enough we're meeting with Nick Jones in housing next week to really get to the bottom of that.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Sue. Thank you.
You have Councillor Buckley and Councillor Cave with hands up now, Chair.
Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Chair. And apologies. I joined the meeting just as Amy gave my apologies for not being
Okay.
able. I thought my name would come up on the list. And thank you, Andrew. You've answered my questions on the telecare. If I could ask one question on the falls response, it's an amazing thing. It's absolutely brilliant. Of the 11% of people that required to go to hospital, was that due to injuries sustained or due to medication people were taking and they had to go and have scans? Then I know with the blood thinners and that, if there's a bump to the head, they have to go and be scanned. I just wondered if it was injury led or precautionary led.
So we do have that data available. So it's a mix. You'll probably understand. Some of it might be, in fact, fairly few is injury. A lot of it is precautionary because the St John's ambulance staff are concerned about the well-being of the person. When they visit everybody who falls, they do a very brief observation of that person. We take advantage of their really good high level of first aid skills, and so they'll do some brief observations if they've got any concerns. And yeah, blood thinners is absolutely at the top of the list. They wouldn't take any chances, and they'll seek an ambulance transfer. But it's remarkable. It is only the 11%. But yeah, we've got that data. Every single person who is responded to by our falls team is also referred to our integrated falls service. So the team of physios, health professionals. So they will follow that person up within the next few days. Hopefully they won't need any ongoing support, but if they do, they'll have that. Touch wood. They'll have that assessment. And then they can be followed up by the falls team.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Ian. Councillor Cave.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to really reiterate what Councillor Lloyd Selby had said. Pensioners, we have to remember, are on a fixed budget. They're not like working people that can go out and work an extra shift or, have their income raised in other ways. They're on a fixed budget. So although £8.50 a month might not sound like a lot of money, I do think we really have to think very carefully as a council of any additional burden we place on the older person, particularly given a time when they've already been hit very hard by the taking away almost without a day's notice of the £300 or so winter fuel allowance. So I do think we have to be very careful as a council of any additional burden, albeit it might seem small to somebody that is working. I do think we have to think very carefully about this, and as you say, really monitor the situation very carefully. And you're really at the front end here of being able to do that. At the moment, we're in uncharted waters. We don't really know how older people are going to manage this winter. And it would be nice to think that the council take on board what has happened recently by the UK government and try and feed back to this committee in particular about the impact of that. So I don't know, Chair, whether you could make that as a recommendation, but I do think it's important as this committee scrutinises what happens to older people in this way. I do think we have a duty really to monitor what's going to happen this winter.
Thank you, Councillor Cave. Is there anybody else? No.
If I make it, Chair. I think Councillor Case misunderstood the costs. These are weekly rather than monthly costs, which kind of makes it a bit more challenging for Andrew and for the users particularly. I wanted to add my condolences as well on about Gary's losing Gary, and send my condolences to both his family, his friends, and his colleagues. Yeah, he was sterling member of staff in the team, and it's a sad loss. I'd like to move the recommendations, though. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. There are 3 recommendations now. Recommendation 1 was that the Scrutiny Committee consider the work and future development of the telecare service. Were you moving that, Neil? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
second it.
So,
And the second one was that the Scrutiny Committee endorses the development of the telecare service described in the report.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll second that. Amy, the third one, did you write it down?
Yes, Chair. So the only other recommendation that was seconded was Councillor Lloyd Selby's recommendation that the next version of the report include information in relation to the impact of the change in charging.
Yes, yeah. And then Councillor...
Can I suggest then that we need a third recommendation which says we would like to see this report being brought back in a year's time to see what progress on it, and that it should include those points that Councillor Lloyd Selby raised.
Yeah, so this report before you, committee, is received by you on an annual basis in any case. So your recommendation then will say that the next time the report is received, that the additional details be included. But I believe Councillor Lloyd Selby would like to come back in.
Councillor Sue Lloyd Selby?
Only to move that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll second that. Can we make any of the comments that Councillor Cave made into a recommendation, Amy, with regard to bringing more information back regarding the outcome of people leaving and people struggling to find the money, the extra monies?
To be honest, Chair, I need direction from yourself and Councillor Cave what you feel the impact of the recommendation is. We will have Councillor Cave's concerns recorded in the minutes as raised, but obviously the recommendation needs to be, outcome based. So I need to take a steer from both of you really as what are you exactly asking with that recommendation?
I think the recommendation was under the financial situation at the moment. Councillor Cave, do you want to word it?
Yes, I think we're in uncharted waters with the older person at the moment, and any additional increase should be monitored. And I note that you're doing that. But at the same time as monitoring this additional increase that is being proposed by the council, we could also take the opportunity to monitor the impact of the removal of the winter fuel allowance on the older person. And I would strongly recommend that the group, this scrutiny committee, vote in favour of that recommendation.
So Chair, yes. Yeah. So obviously you already have a recommendation seconded in order to bring further information on the impact of the charging change. In terms of Councillor Cave's suggestion, is that something that you would like to take under advisement at your next agenda conference in terms of a future report? Because I don't think that is, Councillor Cave's not directly suggesting that directly in relation to this report. So would you like to do that?
We can, yes, we can take it to the next one. Yeah.
So obviously we were not going to lose Councillor Cave's comments at all, but obviously we can have a discussion with that in terms of maybe bringing a future report or information if indeed that is available to us.
If it is available, if we can get that information. Yeah.
Yes, like Councillor Cave was alluding to, that may be a matter in the future in terms of the impact of the winter fuel allowance. But also that would mean that for this report, you'd have your 3 recommendations that have been moved and seconded.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
I believe Lance would like to come in, Chair.
Lance.
I was just going to say it'd be difficult for social services to do a report on the impact of fuel payment. I don't think that's something that would be for us to do.
No, I think we can discuss the situation of the financial situation at the next agenda conference with regard to health-wise, if it's affecting people, if there are more people referring to social services, things like that. But we can discuss it further in.
Can I suggest, Chair, for sort of clarity, the impact of the £150 or so went to fuel allowance payments, and the removal of that is. It comes under the auspices of the Home Society, the HSC committee, Home Society Communities, rather than us in terms of the Housing Support Fund and things like that, which they administer, and I understand there are plans to use to help support some people who are badly affected by the removal of the winter fuel allowance.
Thank you, Neil. It's good to know. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, which moves us on to agenda item 8, which is the Vale Valleys and Cardiff Adoption Collaborative Annual Report 23-24. This is a rolling report with some positives and challenges, lots of good work being done. Can I bring in who's doing this one?
Hello, Chair. Yes, so you have Angela Harris on the line with you.
Thank you, Angela. Angela.
Hello, Angela. Could you press the large activation button in the bottom of your screen, please?
One. That one.
There you go.
Hi,
yes,
Angela. Welcome.
Okay.
Nice to see you again. Thank you.
Hi. Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm Angela Harris and I'm the Regional Adoption Manager. I think some members present may be familiar with this report, and it is an annual report that is presented to the scrutiny committees in our 4 partner authorities. In fact, we're actually, as a collaborative, entering into our 10th year. We've been running 10 years next year. So there have been a number of previous reports. It is a legal requirement. It's built into our collaborative agreement, and we are actually required by regulation to report on a 6-monthly basis on the quality of our care. So I think that the report hopefully is fairly straightforward to read. The appendices attached to the report break down our key areas of activity by local authority. And obviously members would be interested in the activity in respect of the Vale of Glamorgan. I think the first parts of the report obviously deal with any changes we've had to our staffing, establishment and our governance structure. We've got quite a strong structure established. We've got a supportive joint committee that meets twice a year. And we've got a management board that meets on a quarterly basis, and an operational group also that meets on a quarterly basis. I think towards the latter part of this reporting year, which obviously ended on the 31st of March this year, we had some additional meetings of the joint committee because it was necessary for us to agree the level of savings that we would need to consider for the budget this year. And so some extraordinary meetings were held in January and February of this year. And the joint committee finally agreed that we would have to have a 5% savings for our budget. So obviously since April this year, we've had to look at how we achieve those savings and obviously regularly monitor the impact of those savings on our delivery. So in terms of our sort of key area of activity, we are part of obviously the National Adoption Service. There's a very sort of rigorous performance management framework that we have to report on every quarter. and annually to NAS. So we're all regions in Wales and the voluntary agencies report on performance really. So in terms of our key areas in terms of children, I mean that's a big area of our activity, and certainly during the past year we've seen, during this reporting period, we've seen quite a significant increase in numbers of children being referred for adoption. 179 in total for the region and 46 for the Vale. We do have obviously always a fair number that withdraw, but that's not to say that the work isn't actually undertaken before that decision against proceeding with adoption is taken. Obviously, the increase in referrals, I think we're obviously the biggest region in Wales, and we have the biggest area of activity in terms of children. So the referrals have a knock-on effect in terms of the other parts of the process. So what we call the should be adopted, that's the decision-making process for those children that go on to be adopted. So there were 82 of those, and 10 of those were from the Vale. So there's 57 children placed overall, and 10 of those from the Vale. So then we look at matching and how long we take to place children, and positively 60% of children are placed within 6 months. Which is a good sort of, that's the benchmark that we have to work to. And significantly over the last few years, we've managed to place quite a significant number of children within the region. And obviously that is better for children, and also, external placements come with a cost. So that's been a continued sort of positive for us, really. And overall, during the year, there were 70 children adopted and 9 from the Vale. I think it's fair to say in terms of children, we've seen increased complexity for children being referred, and we've seen a significant increase in the number of sibling groups, which does place a lot of challenges on us in terms of getting the right sort of placements for those children. We did during the year, so we haven't had many for a number of years, but we did see quite a high number of placements disrupted during the year, but none of those were for any children from the Vale. So overall, in terms of the children activity, it is very busy. We've seen an increase, but I think we're pleased to sort of report a number of positive outcomes for those children requiring adopted placements. And in terms of the life journey work, again, I think the investment that we received in 2019 from Welsh Government in terms of grant-funded posts, a significant part of that was devoted to life journey work. So there are 1.5 workers in the Vale which are devoted to that area of work. And that has resulted in, very positive return on those activities. So our performance is very good in relation to vision and life journey work. In terms of the other major sort of area of activity in terms of recruitment and assessment of adopters, we have continued to employ in the period a range of methods to recruit adopters. Over the year, we received 222 inquiries, which was slightly up on the previous year, and 38 of those from the Vale. If people want to proceed, we offer an initial visit. So out of those, we provided 60 initial visits, and 12 of those from the Vale. And then at the end of the year, we'd approved 40 plus 7 waiting for ratification, and 8 of those from the Vale. I think it's fair to say that this is it's not an area, it hasn't been an area of growth. We've seen a decrease and this is a concern that is emerging nationally in terms of the number of adopters that we're able to approve, from the range of inquiries that we receive and the number of inquiries. So there's, at the end of this period, there was a piece of work commissioned, which is actually led by our marketing officer in the Vale, to actually try to better understand why the conversion rates are low. And I think we need to understand whether things like the cost of living, etc., is having an impact on that decision in respect of prospective adopters not to proceed further than the inquiry stage. So I think it's an area that we're certainly monitoring very closely. Now we're monitoring it very closely, because obviously if we see an increase in children requiring placements, an increase in complexity, but then a decrease in adopter numbers, that is a real concern. The other big area of activity for us is the whole area of adoption support. So this is the provision of services for adopted children and families. And this year on year, really since, certainly the last few years, we've seen quite a growth in those number of families that are coming forward. And that's partly driven by an agenda which has been set by the National Adoption Service, so that it can be expected that families may need support post-adoption. So it's not to be seen as a negative if they come forward for those areas of support. So, within the period, we saw, again, an increase in the number of those requiring adoption support assessments. I think 84 in total and 17 from the Vale. And also we've seen an increase in access to birth records and requests for intermediary support. So those are adoptees and coming back to the service for that type of intervention. I think some of the new measures that have been introduced by NAS is actually to try and monitor the need more closely. So in terms of the number of allocated cases and the number of adoption support cases that remain unallocated at year end, and also those that wait longer than 4 months for a service. So I think that is, it's an area of concern for us as a service, because we're not able to meet the demand, and we're not able to. We've got a large number of active cases that we're managing, but we're not. We've always got a waiting list for that area of service, and obviously, if a child or family needs a therapeutic support, more additional support than what we can offer, then we have to go to the respective authority where that family reside to get support for that funding for that therapeutic package. So it is it's an area of growth, but it's one that is straining our resources really, and that is, I think it's not peculiar to our region, but it's the regions are structured quite differently in terms of adoption support. So we're it's difficult to compare sometimes. We've continued to use our grant-funded posts very well. We've got the 3 posts within the Adoption Support Service. We have a post that supports it's now called Pathways. It used to be called TESSA. It's a service that's run by Adoption UK, grant-funded, and we are able to refer our lower level of support cases for intervention by that service. We've also got a Children and Young Persons Coordinator, who, again, it's a service that's supported by Adoption UK, where we're able to refer children and young people to a service called Connected. which meets on a monthly basis, which we service with staff from Adoption UK. And the other grant-funded post is a part-time birth parent advisor. And again, we've seen a big growth in that, birth parents coming forward that need that additional support. So that really isn't sufficient to meet our demands. But during the year, we've that post has managed to actually establish a support group for birth parents and birth families, and that is now it's going from strength to strength, and we're actually fulfilling some need in a different way. I think the other areas of the report obviously cover the standard, the policies and practice development, what we're doing in terms of service user engagement. We've done a lot in the year to actually improve our questionnaires and the different points in service delivery that we seek service user feedback. And we've been working quite closely with the Vale Quality Assurance Officer to actually develop that area of work. We've recorded, obviously, our complaints. Unfortunately, during the year, we only received one complaint, which was resolved at a local level. And then there's an appendices, which deals with our range of adoption panel activity, which I think is fairly self-explanatory. I mean, we do schedule 4 panels a month because we have a joint panel to cover the whole area. So I think sort of in summary, I think, the services performed well in terms of children and recruitment of adopters. But our challenges are around adoption support and obviously the increasing challenge in trying to be able to convert more of our inquiries in terms of adopters into actual assessments and hopefully approvals. And obviously the big challenge for the service that we since April is now how we're managing the savings that we've been required to make this year, which were obviously agreed last year. So I'm happy to take any questions that members may have. Obviously that's a bit of a short talk, but
yeah, thank you, Angela. Once more, a very good and informative and very concise report. Well done. Does anybody have any questions? We have 2 recommendations. First recommendation, that committee reviews the report and the work of the collaborative undertaken to date.
Move that.
Second, thank you, Neil. And recommendation 2 is that committee continues to receive annual reports in line with the requirements of the collaborative agreement, which underpins the collaborative.
Yeah, I'd like to first of all thank Angela for her presentation, clarification of the points of the report, and I'd move the second recommendation as well, please.
Thank you very much, Neil. Thank you, and I move it. Thank you. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Which takes us on to any items which I have decided are urgent. I don't have any. If you're going to any firework displays this evening, have fun and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you very much for your attendance this evening.
Good night all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair.